Part 1. The Golden Prince above the city. High above a quiet city, on a tall stone column, stood a beautiful statue. It was the statue of the Happy Prince. He was covered in thin gold leaf. His eyes were made of clear blue sapphires. A bright red ruby shone on his sword. People passing below would look up and smile. "He is so beautiful," they said. "He must be very happy." The Happy Prince looked out over the city day and night. He stood very still. He never moved. But inside his golden heart, the prince was not happy at all. When he was alive, long ago, he lived inside a palace. The palace was full of music and laughter. The walls were high, and the windows looked inward, never out at the city. From his palace, the prince could not see sadness. He could not see hunger. He did not know pain. He danced. He played. He smiled. So they called him the Happy Prince. Now, as a statue, he could finally see everything. He saw narrow streets. He saw small dark rooms. He saw tired faces and quiet tears. And his heart, which was once hidden inside his chest, felt heavy. Part 2. A small swallow and a quiet night. One evening, as the sky grew dark and calm, a small swallow flew over the city. The swallow was tired. He had stayed behind while the other swallows flew south. He had fallen in love with a reed by the river and stayed too long. Now the nights were cold. "I will rest here for just one night," the swallow said softly. He landed at the feet of the Happy Prince. A moment later, a drop of water fell on him, then another. "Why is it raining?" the swallow wondered. He looked up. The sky was clear, the stars were bright, the drops were coming from the prince's eyes. The Happy Prince was crying. "Who are you?" the swallow asked gently. "I am the Happy Prince," the statue said. "Once I was happy. Now I see the sadness of my people, and my heart cannot rest." The swallow felt very small and quiet. "I am cold," he said, "but I can listen." The prince looked down into the city. "Far away," he said, "in a small dark room. A poor seamstress works late into the night. Her hands were thin and tired. Her little boy lay sick in bed. He asked for oranges, but there was only water to give him. "Please," said the prince softly, "take the ruby from my sword and bring it to her." The swallow hesitated. "But I must fly south," he said. "The winter is coming." "Please stay with me one night," the prince whispered. The swallow looked at the prince's kind eyes. Then he nodded. "I will help," he said. And so, with gentle wings, the swallow took the ruby and flew into the quiet night. Part 3. The Second Wish. The night was very quiet when the swallow returned. Snow had not fallen yet, but the air felt colder. The Happy Prince looked down gently. "You stayed," he said. The swallow rested beside him. "I will leave tomorrow," the swallow whispered. "But I am here now." The prince looked out across the city again. In another street, he said softly, "There is a young man." He lived alone, in a small room under the roof. Books lay open on the table. Papers covered the floor. His hands were thin, and his face was pale. "He wants to write," the prince said. "But he is cold and he is hungry." The swallow listened. The wind moved quietly around them. "Please," the prince said, "take one of my sapphire eyes and give it to him." The swallow was startled. "But then you will not be able to see," he said. "I can see with my heart." The prince replied gently. The swallow was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, he took the blue sapphire. He flew low over the city. He slipped through the window of the small room and placed the jewel beside the sleeping young man. The man smiled in his sleep. The swallow returned and settled once more beside the prince. The prince's face looked less bright now, but more peaceful. "Stay one more night," the prince said softly. The swallow nodded. The cold did not seem as sharp anymore. Part 4. Winter comes slowly. The next morning, the sky was pale and quiet. Frost touched the rooftops. The swallow shivered. "I must leave soon," he said. But the prince spoke again. "Down below," he said, "there is a little girl." She stood in the street, her bare feet red with cold. She had dropped her matches in the snow. Her father would be angry if she came home without money. "Please," the prince whispered, "take my other eye and give it to her." The swallow looked at the prince. After this, the prince would be blind. But the prince did not look afraid. He looked calm. The swallow gently took the second sapphire. He flew down and placed it in the girl's small hand. At once, warmth filled her face. She laughed softly and ran home. The swallow returned. Now the prince could not see the city, yet he smiled. "Stay with me," the prince said quietly. The swallow looked at the sky. The other swallows were far away now. The winter air wrapped around them. "I will stay," the swallow said. Snow began to fall. The prince grew dull and gray. The gold leaf slowly faded as the swallow plucked it away, piece by piece, bringing it to the poor. Each night the city slept. Each night kindness moved silently through the streets. The swallow grew weaker. His wings were heavy. One morning, he lay at the prince's feet. The city was white and still. "I am happy," the swallow whispered, and then, very gently, he fell asleep forever. Part 5. The quiet heart of the city. Winter settled gently over the city. Snow rested on rooftops and covered the streets in soft white silence. The statue of the happy prince stood still and gray above the square. His gold was gone, his eyes were gone. At his feet lay the small swallow, quiet and still. People walked past below. "How dull the statue looks now," they said. "It is no longer beautiful." They did not know what had been given away. Deep inside the prince, his heart remained. It was made of lead, heavy and strong. It held every act of kindness, every quiet gift, every gentle choice. The city slept. In small rooms, people rested more warmly than before. A child dreamed peacefully. A writer smiled at his finished work. A seamstress slept beside her healthy son. No one knew who had helped them, and no one needed to know. High above the quiet city, the prince remained. He could not see the stars, but his heart was full. Part 6. A gentle ending beyond the city. One cold morning, city workers gathered below the statue. "This statue looks broken," they said. "It is no longer useful." They pulled it down. The swallow's small body was lifted gently from the snow. The lead heart fell to the ground. It did not break. It did not melt. "This heart is strange," the workers said. "It cannot be used, so they set it aside. That night, something quiet and unseen moved through the city. In a place beyond noise and cold, two gentle figures stood together. One was a small bird, warm again, with bright and steady wings. The other was a prince, no longer stone, no longer heavy. They were peaceful. They were whole. A soft voice spoke. "These are the most precious things," the voice said. The bird had given his love. The prince had given his heart. And love, given quietly, never disappears. Far below, the city slept. Snow fell softly. And somewhere, happiness rested. Not in gold, not in jewels, but in kindness shared. The night remained calm.